So Diwali is just around the corner, and for a lot of people, that means celebration, lights, and family. But it can also bring up some tricky spiritual questions. Today, we're going to dive into one of those questions, one that really sits at that crossroads of faith, family, and tradition. Okay, so let's set the scene. Imagine this. You're a really dedicated devotee of Krishna, and right in the middle of Diwali, a good friend or a family member invites you to a Lakshmi Pooja, the big ceremony to honor the goddess of fortune. What do? Do you go? And look, it's not as simple as just saying yes or no, right? For a lot of people, this kind of invitation creates a real conflict. It's like your cultural traditions are pulling you one way, and your spiritual principles are pulling you another. You're stuck right there at that tricky intersection of faith and family.
I mean, on one side, you're thinking, isn't this all about praying for material stuff, for money and, sense gratification? And as a devotee, that's something you're trying to move past. But then on the other side, you remember, wait a minute, Lakshmi Devi is the eternal consort of Lord Narayana, who is, of course, an incarnation of Krishna. So what's the deal here? Is going to this puja a deviation from your path? Or is it actually an opportunity to honor the divine, just in another form?
Okay, to get to the bottom of this, we really have to understand who Goddess Lakshmi is, not just as the goddess of fortune, but from a much deeper theological perspective. And trust me, it's way more complex, and honestly, way more beautiful than you might think. So when you look at the spiritual texts, they make it super clear. Lakshmi Devi is not just some goddess of wealth. Her entire identity, her very essence, is defined by her eternal, inseparable relationship with the Supreme Lord. She's his divine counterpart, the ultimate source of all opulence. And really, you can think of her as an expansion of the Lord's own pleasure potency. And this is the absolute key point. They are an inseparable pair. You literally cannot have one without the other. In fact, trying to get Lakshmi, fortune, without honoring Lord Vishnu, well, that's not just a mistake. It's actually considered dangerous. Yeah, this quote right here really nails it. Real, lasting prosperity is only found where the Supreme Lord is also present and being honored. She's never, ever separate from him. Okay, so if Lakshmi is this amazing divine personality who's always with the Lord, then what's the problem with worshiping her? What's the trouble here? Well, it turns out the issue isn't who you're worshiping, but why you're worshiping. It all boils down to your motivation. And this is the core of it. The whole point of worship is to please the person you're worshiping, right? It's about service, it's about devotion. So when we go to Lakshmi and ask her for a bunch of stuff just for our own enjoyment, we're completely missing the point. We're actually ignoring the entire spiritual reason she exists. Now get this, because this is a really fascinating theological twist. The texts explain that the kind of wealth that's temporary, the kind that comes and goes that people are always chasing, that actually comes from Goddess Durga, who manages the material world. It's like an illusion of prosperity. But real wealth, the spiritual, lasting kind, that is a direct gift from Lakshmi Devi herself, and it's given to devotees specifically to be used in service to the Lord. Big difference. The story of Ravana is the perfect and pretty scary example of this. Remember, he tried to steal Sita Devi, who is Lakshmi, because he wanted all her fortune, but he wanted it without Lord Rama. But here's the thing. He didn't actually get her. He got an illusion, a fake form created by the material energy. And that pursuit, trying to get wealth without the divine source, it didn't make him prosperous. It led to the absolute destruction of his entire family, his entire kingdom, everything. So this all brings us full circle, right back to our original question. You're a devotee. You get invited to a Lakshmi Puja. Now that you know all of this, what's the move? And the answer isn't just to say no. The real answer is to go, but to go with a transformed consciousness. And hey, who better to take advice from than Lakshmi Devi herself? Her advice is basically, just focus on serving the Lord. Don't even bother him with material requests. He's in everyone's heart, he already knows what you need, and he'll take care of it. You don't even have to ask. Okay, so with this understanding, we have a clear, practical game plan. Instead of just saying no and maybe creating some awkwardness with family and friends, you can go with a totally different purpose. First, use it as a chance to build relationships, to make friends, to strengthen your community. Second, you can share what you know. Maybe you bring a spiritual book as a gift, something that could open up a conversation. And third, and this is the most important part, when you pray to Lakshmi Devi, don't ask for material things. Pray to her for the real wealth. Ask her for her mercy, for the grace to become a pure, loving devotee of her husband, the Lord.
You see, this whole thing really pushes us to redefine what we even mean by prosperity or wealth. It's got nothing to do with what's in your bank account. If there's one thing you walk away with, let it be this. True prosperity, the kind that's symbolized by Lakshmi, is absolutely inseparable from its source, Lord Narayana. You can't have one without the other. It's a package deal.
So for a devotee, the goal isn't to just pile up a bunch of stuff. If and when any kind of wealth comes your way, you see it as a gift, a sacred trust, directly from Lakshmi. And it's not for you to just enjoy. It's meant to be used in the service of Krishna.
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about, something that goes way beyond just Diwali. When you really strip away all the temporary stuff, all the illusions, what does true prosperity mean?